Welcome to In Focus, where we discuss the most pressing conflict zones and diplomatic developments shaping global security today. In this episode, we turn our spotlight first to Lebanon, where recent Israeli airstrikes have shattered the uneasy calm of a ceasefire, igniting tensions and raising serious questions about regional stability. The impact reverberates amid Lebanon's military mobilization and wider geopolitical reactions. We then pivot to Eastern Europe's volatile battlefield following intense Ukrainian resistance and a dramatic White House meeting between President Trump and Ukrainian President Zelensky. With an imminent US-Russia summit set in Hungary, is peace on the table, or is this another strategic delay? Stay tuned as we unpack these critical developments with leading analysis from Beirut and Moscow. Israel launched what it described as the largest airstrike campaign on Lebanon since last year's ceasefire agreement, concluding over 30 heavy strikes across southern Lebanon and the eastern Bekaa region. According to the Cradle, the Israeli occupation forces claimed the strikes targeted Hezbollah infrastructure and the environmental NGO Green Without Borders, accused of supporting Hezbollah's reconstruction efforts. Israel alleges Hezbollah is rebuilding its facilities under civilian cover. These attacks follow recent escalations, including strikes severing power lines and destroying reconstruction equipment in southern Lebanon. Since last November's ceasefire, over 300 people, including civilians, have died from Israeli attacks. Lebanon's government, under U.S. pressure, decided to disarm Hezbollah, a move rejected by the group, which insists on integrating its arms into Lebanon's national defense if Israel holds its incursions. And we begin tonight in southern Lebanon, where reported Israeli airstrikes have violated the ceasefire and reignited news and fears of broader conflict in the region. With regional tensions rising and Lebanon ramping up its troop presence, we ask, are we on the brink of another full-scale war? And to help us understand the implications of these developments and the strategic calculations underway, we are joined from Beirut by Mr. Marcel Baloukji, a military and strategic expert. Welcome, Mr. Baloukji, to Qnews, and let me start by asking you, now this marks a clear violation of the ceasefire. Do you believe that the ceasefire is effectively dead?
Good afternoon to you and to your viewers. It's not a violation to ceasefire. This truce allows Israel to pursue their aggression towards Lebanon. Especially the international laws are not implementing, and there is a slowdown on some deficiency in the Lebanon state to implement the decisions. Especially the authority is regaining their power to protect Lebanese from this direct Israeli threats, and half states resolutions are incomplete and vague, is exposing Lebanese to constant attacks and, as you mentioned, violation to ceasefire.
Sir, given these
سيدي نظرا
airstrikes breach the ceasefire agreement from November 2024, how is Lebanon's government responding politically and militarily?
Lebanon, as I mentioned, politically is not coping with the military steps because the willingness of to surrender to international law is just by images and only not real, as long although they lost their abilities previously, but now they are now working on gaining more power, and although they lost the imbalance between two powers, they can send drones and rockets to displace the North Israel, which is feared by Israel. But Israel started to target economic targets inside Lebanon, and the last aggression was on engineering sites and pro Hezbollah's and as long as this is what we want from the future to end this.
Sir, Lebanon is planning to deploy 10,000 troops to the border. So, is this a strategic deterrent or a political gesture?
This is a political gesture more than military, because it's not about deploying the amount of soldiers. The Lebanon army is well deployed and completely deployed, but the resolution of 1701 is a political solution. Um, so Hezbollah will not surrender, and Israel are not withdrawing. They are expanding their operations, and the equation is contradictive. No party is pushing to forward, so there is a conflict. There is no civil war inside Lebanon, because the willing is to end the war, but there is internal conflict. The executive authority is somehow paralyzed in implementing the decisions. It's not military, but political. So the 10,000 soldiers will not affect the decisions making or.
And how is UNIFIL responding to the rising tensions? Is Resolution 1701 being enforced effectively?
Unfortunately, what occurred in the south proves that there is more weapons and storages were targeted in the north and the south. The Lebanese army completed or implemented the first phase, but incompletely, and 25% that are now announced by the army is in regards to the deployment of Hezbollah's soldiers inside Lebanon. This can secure the north from bombing and regain the war, but it will not be full scale, but it will be in the suburbs because of the strategic sensitive weapons there, and some Hezbollah leaders as well. So implementing 1701 resolution is long-standing and will be proven, and most importantly is the deployed Hezbollah's presence is still there, their structure is still there, and the constant Israeli aggression is now is the decision to all parties to implement the international laws. And as Gaza, the first phase was completed, but disarmament of Hezbollah and Hamas is not easy. The phase was completed, but the five rest phases are pending currently because of the absence of complete political decision.
And what impact are these events having on Lebanese domestic politics and public sentiment?
The public sentiment mostly approves or supports the disarmament, even Shia sections. But what Hezbollah has with political extension jurisdiction allows them to be in control and to stay in and to keep the vagueness and the decision. Therefore, President Barry surrendered the supporter of Hezbollah has the heaviness in regards to disarmament, and there is slowdown and efficiency still now in implementing this decision. Especially the bilateral president is the president of legislative, so the Lebanon arena supports the disarmament, but Lebanon, with its announcement and decisions, is not ready to implement this decision.
And is there any indication that international diplomacy might step in to de-escalate the situation?
Ma'am, Iran's game plays in Lebanon as they played in Gaza. Therefore, the international decisions and American interference faces Iranian interference, which hinders the issues unless the American-Iranian negotiations advanced. That may reflect on Lebanon. There is no advancement or progression in this regard. Therefore, the regional conflict affected Lebanon, and some support was from Iran to Hezbollah. Therefore, the international decision and other supporters, American diplomats, failed in enhancing the Lebanese situation. What is faced inside Lebanon, and now Lebanese situation is spending inevitably.
Finally, from your own perspective, sir, where is Lebanon-Israel escalation headed in the near future?
For sure, Iran has a fundamental extension after this serious progression and updates, and Iran's new commitment trying to stall, and now Lebanon and Yemen is remaining. Now we have Iranian experts, therefore I'm concerned that things may develop in case if things developed, if issues develop with Iran, to have a preheated controversial to prevent any Hezbollah's interference to help the situation, because it's fundamental in supporting Iran and its negotiations. Therefore, Lebanon, the complicity of the issue, the matter is connected to what happened in Gaza, and the Lebanese people are incapable. The state is incapable. So, therefore, the situation is pending. Lebanon is affected by Iran, and Hezbollah is still extending more and more. There is no indicators to Israel's withdrawal from Lebanon to support Hezbollah's decisions. Therefore, the equation is frozen. The situation is bad, is dire, and the alternatives, as Plan B mentioned, the only choice till now is excluding any negotiations in the Iranian-American negotiations.
Well, that was Mr. Marcel Baloukji, military and strategic expert. Thank you so much for your valuable insights, sir. And we've heard that the fragile peace in Lebanon remains under severe strain, with military activities and political gestures signaling a tense and unpredictable future. The coming weeks will be critical in determining whether this volatile situation will spiral further or find a path back to stability. Next, we move from Beirut to Moscow as we analyze the evolving Russia-Ukraine war and high-stakes diplomacy unfolding in Washington and beyond. Recent reports reveal a complex diplomatic landscape surrounding the Ukraine-Russia conflict involving President Trump, Zelensky, and Putin. The Independent stated that Trump is stated to meet Zelensky at the White House amid ongoing tensions over military support, particularly regarding the potential provision of Tomahawk cruise missiles to Ukraine, which Putin has warned could harm relations with Moscow. Trump has also held a lengthy phone call with Putin, during which the Russian leader reiterated his opposition to supplying Ukraine with these missiles, emphasizing that they would not change the battlefield dynamics, but could escalate tensions. Zelensky's visit aims to garner further U.S. support and persuade Trump to counter Russian efforts for peace negotiations that, according to Kiev, are merely a pretext by Moscow to protect its interests. Additionally, a planned summit in Budapest involving Trump and Putin is on the horizon, with Hungary ensuring Putin's entry, further highlighting the intricate diplomatic efforts to influence the war's resolution. A high-stakes diplomatic meeting will take place in Washington, where Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will meet U.S. President Donald Trump. Zelensky will press for advanced weaponry, including Tomahawk missiles, while Trump confirmed plans to meet with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Hungary in just 2 weeks. The question now, is the world heading towards meaningful negotiations or simply stalling the next phase of war? Joining us from Moscow is Mr. Sergei Markov, former advisor to President Vladimir Putin. Mr. Markov, welcome to Qnews, and let me start by asking you, what is your assessment of the recent Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian targets, including in Crimea and deep inside Russia?
It's a normal situation of war. we know that this war is a modern war of drones, first of all, and we see development of these drones attacks. First of all, on the front line, now the number of drones, something 3 or 4 or 5 more than number of soldiers. And also long-distance drones attacked more and more target on the territory of the sites which is in situation of war with each other. So it's normal. And also anti-rocket and anti-drone system is developing in both countries. It's good for Russia that Russia is more strong than Ukraine. And of course, because in Ukraine there are no democracy and neocolonial dictatorship, there are no chance that Ukrainians can say something against such drone attack. But we suppose that because of Russian drones attack and rocket missiles attack, possibly this winter it could be blackout on the north of the Ukraine. It's such cities as Kiev capital and Kharkov former capital of Ukraine and Poltava, Chernihiv and Sumy. And I think how to prevent this blackout of the north of Ukraine, it is one of the key points for negotiation between Trump and Putin and Zelensky and Trump.
And, sir, what impact have the reported Russian casualties had on military and political decision-making inside Russia?
Of course, people are very much concerned about increasing number of losses, but in Russia, Ukraine is regarded as neo-colonial territory which have been occupied by enemies of Russia, such as Great Britain, France, Germany, and another Britain and another European countries. And Russians see these losses as inevitable price for the stopping much more higher threat, which can be if Western countries will continue militarization and creating more strong anti-Russia on the place of Ukraine. I should remember that Ukraine was part of the Russia during 1000 years, and Kiev was capital of Russia during 3 centuries.
Okay.
So it's Russia.
Yes. Turning to the diplomatic front, sir, how do you view President Donald Trump's meeting with Zelensky, particularly concerning U.S. arms transfers?
I see the meeting of Donald Trump and Vladimir Zelensky, first of all, as accurate steps of Donald Trump to distance himself from Ukrainian crisis. Donald Trump approach to Ukrainian crisis, not to Ukraine, but to Ukrainian war, it's approach of the real estate businessman who, for example, constructed some hotel, but this hotel not used by a lot of people. So it's not profitable. So that's why first Donald Trump stopped to spend money to the Ukrainian war. And now, after he will understand that no chance to get a peace deal between Russia on the one hand and Europe and Ukrainian repressive regime on the other hand, he will distance America from those Ukrainian war step by step. Accurately, but step by step, he will do.
Mm-hmm. And do you expect from the upcoming summit between President Trump and President Putin in Hungary any outcomes in particular?
I don't expect a big breakthrough because, in fact, who is enemies of Russia? It's not only Ukrainian regime, but it's first of all European Union and Great Britain and partly United States. And those sides of the war, European Union, Great Britain, and Ukrainian regime, even those doesn't want to discuss the reason of this war. And this reason is that Western countries impose neo-colonial repressive regime and doing from former Russia, which is Ukraine, been 1,000 years, anti-Russia by methods of terror. Russian demands stop terror, liberate all political prisoners, stop terror against Orthodox Church, stop ultra-militarization of Ukrainian regime. And European side even doesn't want to discuss this issue and fully ignore this existing problem.
Mr. Markov, could this summit mark the beginning of a new multipolar strategy for Washington, one that balances between Kiev and Moscow?
I don't think that Washington will be balanced between Moscow and Kiev. First of all, because Kiev not independent. Kiev it's a new colony of Europe right now, and Washington is and United States of America is ultra superpower. They will be not play dancing between different countries. No, I think Donald Trump will move to the United States to the Pacific Ocean, to the more competition with China, more alliance possibly with India, and he will try to distance himself from the losing Ukrainian war.
So is Putin's engagement and talks a genuine pursuit of peace or a strategic move to delay U.S. military support to Ukraine?
Russia wants peace in Ukraine very much because we are Russians. Frankly speaking, I already told them we regard Ukraine as part of the Russia, which occasionally appear to be independent, but then which have been captured, occupied by Western countries, who is making anti-Russia on the territory of Ukraine by methods of terror. And that's why for us it's civil war. That's why every Russian soldier, it's our soldier. But every Ukrainian soldier, it's also our soldier. We want to stop it as soon as possible. But Europeans want to continue to kill Russian soldiers. It's the reality.
Okay. How are Western commitments to Ukraine influencing Russian strategic calculations at this stage?
Can you repeat? I'm sorry.
Yes, sir. I was asking you, how are Western commitments to Ukraine, particularly, of course, military, influence Russian strategic calculations at this stage?
Of course, now Ukrainian crisis is the main crisis for Russia. It's an existential threat to Russia because, as we understand, first of all, Americans and Great Britain, but now Europeans and British, they want to make relation between Russia and Ukraine with brothers. They want to make relation between India and Pakistan and between Israelis and Palestinians. This is could be war for decades, and Russia wants to stop this plan of devil, which have been created by London, European capitals, and Washington with former President Biden.
In your opinion, how might this interplay of military confrontation and diplomacy evolve in the near future?
It's difficult to predict because we could see that chaotic characteristic of the modern world, everything unexpected. Not so many people expected that Russia will send a troop to Ukraine. Same time, we don't expect that Europe will move from democracy to the violation of democratic principle as it's happened in Moldavia, Romania, and another country in France, where leading politician Le Pen is arrested. And we didn't expect that Europe can support such ultra-undemocratic, ultra-illegal and repressive regime as Ukraine. So it's difficult to predict. But more realistically to see that Europe will continue its movement to the more undemocratic authoritarian regimes. And as such, it will be more interesting to have conflict outside. To say more clear, President of France Macron, interesting to have war against Russia for arresting of Le Pen, leader of European Commission. Interesting to have war in Ukraine for this abolishing of Prime Minister of Hungary, Orban. German leaders interesting to continue war in Ukraine because they need to prohibit leading oppositional party alternative for Germany. That's why they will continue this war.
Yes. Well, that was Mr. Sergei Markov, former advisor to President Vladimir Putin. Thank you so much, sir, for your valuable insights. And that brings us to the end of today's episode of In Focus, which always unveils the complexities of our changing world. I'm Hannah Al-Hamalawi. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned for more updates here on Q News.